There will come a moment when life hits you harder than you think you can handle. A betrayal, a loss, a failure so big it shakes everything you thought you were. Most people break under that pressure, but a few don't. A few become something else. And the ancient Stoics believed that anyone, yes, even you, can become unbreakable. But here's the brutal truth. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by law, by following principles so old they were written before your ancestors had last names, yet so powerful that billionaires, world leaders, and elite performers still follow them today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 7 ancient Stoic laws that turned ordinary men into legends. Laws practiced by Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, who wrote philosophy in battlefield tents. Laws lived by Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest teachers in history. Laws that will teach you how to endure anything, stay calm in chaos, and rebuild yourself into someone who can't be shaken. If you stay to the end, you'll learn the law that the Stoics kept for themselves, the one they believed separates the average from the unstoppable. But before we go any deeper, hit that like button. Not for me. Do it now as a commitment to yourself. The fact that you're here already tells me you're one of the rare few who actually want to grow. Let's get into law number 1. Let's begin. Most people today are breaking down mentally because they've convinced themselves that life is supposed to be easy. They think discomfort is a sign that something's gone wrong, when in reality, struggle is the training ground for strength. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. Their first unwritten law was simple. Struggle is not the enemy, avoidance is. Seneca said, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." His life was filled with stress, betrayal, and political danger. Yet he remained calm because he didn't expect life to always go his way. The Stoics trained their minds the way warriors train their bodies, through exposure, not escape. They deliberately stepped into discomfort because they knew comfort creates weakness and resistance creates resilience. So if there's one thing you take from this first law, let it be this. Stop running from the very things that are trying to strengthen you. Don't wait for life to get easier. Build yourself into someone who can handle anything. You can't be unbreakable if you're always trying to stay comfortable. The real reward isn't avoiding hardship. It's leveling up because of it. Now, like Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That line isn't just poetic. It's the blueprint for becoming unshakable. Whatever you're avoiding right now, that difficult conversation, the scary decision, the draining responsibility, that's the exact thing you need to confront. Because every time you face what scares you, you weaken fear and strengthen yourself. The second ancient Stoic law is brutally simple. Master what is in your control, ignore what isn't. Epictetus built his entire philosophy on this and said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." Most people waste their entire lives trying to fix the weather, change other people's opinions, or stress about outcomes they never fully control. The Stoic becomes unbreakable the moment they stop bleeding energy into things they can't influence. Think about how much emotional pain comes from fighting reality. Someone insults you, and you try to force them to respect you. The market changes, and you panic instead of adapting. You're exhausted not because life is hard, but because you're carrying things you were never meant to carry. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That single sentence is one of the most psychologically freeing lines ever written in human history. You may not control the outcome, but you always control your response, your attitude, and your discipline. That's why Stoics were calm in chaos, not because things were easy, but because they refused to give their power away. Here's the test. The next time something goes wrong, ask yourself one question before reacting. Is this inside my control or outside it? If it's inside, act with discipline. If it's outside, drop it immediately. Repeat that enough times, and your entire nervous system rewires for peace and authority. And if you're still here listening to this right now, you're already different than most people. Most people complain. You're learning how to conquer life at its foundation. If this already hit you hard, do me a favor. Like the video right now so YouTube knows you want more of this. And we'll keep going. Now let's move into one of the most life-changing Stoic laws. The rule that nearly every modern philosopher, entrepreneur, and even therapist has borrowed from: the dichotomy of control. If you don't master this one, the world will constantly overwhelm you. No matter how strong you think you are. Epictetus said it best. Some things are in our control, and others are not. That's it. That's the fundamental doorway into Stoic freedom. Most people live their entire lives trying to control things that were never within their control in the first place. Other people's opinions, the weather, their past mistakes, how fast success comes. And when those things resist, as they always do, they feel defeated, bitter, and resentful. The Stoics flipped this dynamic completely. They asked themselves only one question: what part of this situation is truly mine to command? Not what do I wish I could control, not what would make me feel better, but what's actually mine. Your effort, yes. Your attitude, yes. Your choices, absolutely. Everything else, not your business. This isn't passive, it's strategic. Marcus Aurelius fought wars, ruled a collapsing empire, and dealt with betrayal from his closest friend. Yet he wrote calmly in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That wasn't a poetic line. That was his survival strategy. So ask yourself right now, what stress are you carrying that doesn't belong to you? Who are you trying to convince, change, or save when it's not your responsibility? The moment you shift your energy toward what you control, you become unstoppable, because you're finally fighting battles you can win. Now let's move on to the next law. But before we do, hit that like button. If these truths are hitting you hard right now, it helps this message reach more people. And I guarantee there's someone out there who needs to hear this. Stay locked in, because the next principle builds directly on this one, and it's the real secret to becoming unbreakable. One of the most overlooked Stoic principles is the idea of deliberately choosing discomfort to build inner strength. Seneca practiced sleeping on hard floors and wearing rough clothing just to remind himself that comfort isn't a requirement for peace. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" The Stoics understood that if you only ever chase comfort, you'll crumble the moment life gets hard. You have to build calluses on your mind the same way you build them on your hands. When you skip the easy option, take cold showers, exercise when you don't feel like it, or confront fears instead of avoiding them, you're training your spirit to stay calm under pressure. The modern world avoids discomfort at all costs. But that's exactly why so many people panic when life hits them unexpectedly. The Stoic sees discomfort not as an enemy, but as a teacher. When you choose discomfort voluntarily, you take control of your growth instead of waiting for life to force it on you. Seneca wasn't telling you to suffer for no reason. He was telling you to practice strength before you need it. Like an archer training before the battlefield, discomfort becomes your training ground. And when life finally throws that punch, you'll be ready, because you've already hit yourself harder. If you're serious about becoming unbreakable, try this right now. Remove a small comfort today on purpose. Skip the warm shower. Fast for a few hours. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Watch how quickly your brain starts making excuses, and watch how powerful you feel when you ignore them. Here's the brutal truth the Stoics understood better than anyone. Most of your suffering doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from your attachment to how you think things should happen. The more you cling to outcomes, people, and expectations, the more fragile you become. But the moment you detach not in a cold way, but in a wise way, you become unstoppable. You stop begging life to go your way, and instead, you walk through life with a sense of inner power that almost nothing can shake. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "Don't seek to have events happen as you want them to, but want them to happen as they do happen." It might sound passive, but it's the opposite. It's total freedom. Because while everyone else is losing their minds over things they can't control, you stay calm, adaptive, and fully in command of your own judgment. Let me make this simple. Detachment isn't about giving up. It's about giving up the illusion that you can control everything. It's about giving life space to surprise you. When you do that, you'll stop taking losses so personally. You'll stop clinging to people who don't respect you. You'll stop letting expectations ruin your peace. A Stoic doesn't say, "I'll be okay if this works out." A Stoic says, "I'll be okay regardless." That's real strength. That's real freedom. And that's how you become unbreakable. Law 6. Live with radical honesty, especially with yourself. Every one of us lies to others, sure, but more dangerously, to ourselves. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, that we're doing our best, that we're being reasonable, when deep down we know we're avoiding the truth. The Stoics believed that self-deception is the root of suffering, because if you can't face reality as it is, you can't change anything about it. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." That line isn't about intelligence. It's about humility, the willingness to confront what's real rather than what's comfortable. Marcus Aurelius wrote honest letters to himself every night, calling out his weaknesses and flaws without sugarcoating anything. That's why he got better. That's why he became the kind of man whose private journal is still read 2,000 years later. The weak man hides from the truth. The strong man uses it as fuel. Ask yourself, where am I lying to myself right now? Maybe you say you're committed, but your actions don't match it. Maybe you say you're calm and in control, but you're constantly emotionally reactive. The Stoics would tell you, start with the truth, even if it hurts, and you'll never build a life based on delusion. Honesty is painful at first, but powerful forever. Law 7. The law of radical self-sufficiency. There's a dangerous belief in our culture that someone else will fix your problems, save you, validate you, or drag you to the finish line of your life. Stoics would laugh at that. They believed in radical self-sufficiency, not just independence, but inner sovereignty. If you rely on others for motivation, approval, direction, or power, you're already at their mercy. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. It sounds extreme, but it's freedom. The moment you're no longer emotionally dependent on what people say or do, you become unstoppable. You stop waiting for permission. You stop living for validation. You build your life like a fortress, not a tent that collapses in someone else's storm. Here's the modern translation. Stop outsourcing your strength. Stop expecting motivation from YouTube videos, discipline from a mentor, or purpose from a relationship. You can learn, you can be inspired, but your foundation has to be built by you. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet his most powerful writing was a reminder to himself, not others, because at the core of Stoicism is this unbreakable truth. If it's not happening within you, it doesn't matter what's happening around you. So here's your reflection. How much of your power have you given away? How much of your mood, your confidence, your self-worth relies on someone else's actions? Take it back. Build your mind like a silent fortress. Let the world howl outside, while inside you remain unmoved. Be self-contained. Be self-governed. Be free. Over the last few minutes, we've explored 7 ancient Stoic laws that have shaped warriors, emperors, philosophers, and leaders for more than 2,000 years. These laws aren't just mental tricks or motivational fluff, they are battle-tested principles, forged in the hardest conditions life can offer. If you truly apply them, not just understand them, you won't just feel better. You'll become unbreakable. When you master control over what's in your power, guard your internal world like a fortress. Confront discomfort intentionally. Cut loose the things that weaken you. Choose your influences wisely. Embrace silence as a strength. And live every day as if it were your last. You stop being ruled by the world and start ruling yourself. The Stoics didn't live easy lives. They lived courageous ones. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, wars, and betrayal. Epictetus was born a slave. Seneca was exiled and ordered to die. But they became legends not because of what happened to them, but because of how they chose to respond. Their laws exist for people like you and me, not to inspire us, but to instruct us. As Marcus Aurelius put it, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. So now, it's your turn. Start with just one law. Practice it today, then practice it tomorrow. And when it gets uncomfortable, good. That means you're doing it right. If this video shifted something in you, if it reminded you of the strength you've always had but forgot, like this video, drop a comment with the law that hit you the hardest. And subscribe if you want more ancient wisdom without the fluff. Because this journey doesn't end here. It starts here right now. Stay strong. Stay stoic. Stay unbreakable.